Welcome to 10 Women, bringing together 10 women with 10 thought-provoking questions based on one theme. During this episode of 10 Women, we will hear 10 different answers to this question. What lessons have you learned from watching loved ones get older?
Each of us have watched other women grow older. Sometimes we'll see someone as a great example and you're thinking, that's what I'm going to do when I get older. And others you're thinking, I hope I don't do that when I get older. But each of those moments have taught you something about how you approach life.
I had this aunt who had embraced life hard. She was just one of those people who wanted to get all the marrow out of all the bones of life, right? She would go traveling with her husband. They had hobbies. They learned how to ballroom dance. I mean, it was just all the things. And then she was diagnosed with breast cancer. But she approached that diagnosis with the same type of energy. She was so positive, and she just embraced every moment she could during all of her remissions and eventually even into her death. And that's the way I kind of want to approach growing older, for sure.
When I hear this question, I think about my grandmother. I think about how I want to grow old with grace and a little bit of mischief. She was very active. She loved to walk. She read every day. And so she kept her body sharp and her mind sharp. And that physical activity, that mental activity really helped her when she became older. To greet it with grace and mischief.
Yeah. Before we hear the 10 answers, remember to take a moment to think about your own answer to this question. What lessons have you learned from watching loved ones get older?
And don't forget that we want to hear your answers too. Follow our 10 Women series on Instagram to share your thoughts and to read the responses of others in our community. Visit our website to find other ways to connect.
Hi, my name is Michelle. I am a gynecologist, bicyclist, and someone who loves life. That's a great question. Really, the biggest lesson that both I and my wife Candace have learned, and this is really nice when you have somebody to be able to go through this process together and to understand what it is that's happening. Both of us have learned that there is just this sort of narrowing of ability to change over time. And it hasn't been with everybody necessarily that I see, but it is with a lot of people that I see. I saw it with my grandmother, seeing it now with my mother. My grandmother not wanting to give up the shoes that she had for 25 years that she had bought when they were cheap and now they didn't fit her feet anymore. My mother who couldn't give up a small box of Q-tips that probably is older than me. The idea that you have a harder time adapting as you get older. And the idea now that we have tried to describe and tried to understand in between the two of us is how do we kind of avoid that? How can we grow through that so that even if we don't like change that is coming, we have a better understanding of how we can, how things do change and it's okay. And it may be a generational thing in a lot of ways, although it may be easier for our coming generation because we've been through different things. We've been through a lot of different things. Getting my parents to move into Abbotswood independent living right now, to Candace and I, it looks like we're going back to the dorms. They have a meal plan. They have activities. I mean, they may even have to worry about the next door neighbor that's playing their TV too loud. I mean, all of those things that we remember growing up that we experienced. For us, when it comes to our time, maybe it won't be as hard, but for my mom, it just is a struggle to think of that change from house ownership, having everything that she wants in exactly the place that she wants it, to now moving into a smaller place and having everything change.
My name is Kimberly Burke, and I'm a human, a teacher, and a lover. I've learned that things can change on a dime, that aging can be really brutal. You know, I watched most of the women in my life, because I'm in a kind of a unique situation where my brothers were 21 and 19 years older than me, so my parents were significantly older. They were like my friends' grandparents' age. So I was raised kind of differently than most of my peers, which in a way was fantastic, but it meant that I got to see a lot of death early on because everybody was dying off. And as it stands now, I have one family member left who's an elderly woman, and everybody else is gone. So that shapes everything. But it also shaped, like, that generation didn't talk about aging. Nobody ever, they didn't talk to me about things like having a period. But never mind menopause and the things that I'm experiencing. I think somebody could have maybe clued me in, shared this with me. I've realized that it can be really brutal. We had a lot of dementia in our family, and I took care of my mom for 7 years and kind of watched her do really kind of crazy, horrible, mean things. And that terrifies me. So I can't say that I've had, my dad, I guess, he aged beautifully. He actually walked 10 miles the day he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer and died 27 days later, but never lost his faculties, never lost his love. So that was a positive experience, but aging is pretty scary to me.
My name is Abigail Dunn Moses, and I am an educator of adults who heals the brokenhearted. I value wisdom, experience-based wisdom, not just stuff off the internet. So as my friends have grown older, I've noticed that they have that experience-based wisdom that is just irreplaceable. So that's what I've learned. And then when I think about my grandchildren, they just, they light up my world. And what I learned from them is effort. They're constantly striving to learn, constantly striving to make the next physical milestone. And they don't quit. They don't quit. And I admire that tremendously.
I am Leanna Martin, and I am an aunt, a daughter, and a friend. I guess, unfortunately, I had to watch my dad die not too long ago. It's like maybe 2 years. It might be 2 years coming up. And he wasn't even that old, but it's just taking care of your health is important. So I'm more on top of that, I think, now, just from watching him go through battling cancer. And then my mom, she's also getting older, and I help take care of her. So seeing her go through having arthritis in both knees and struggling to get around and not wanting to get knee replacement surgery has made me if I need a surgery, I'm gonna get it, because just the quality of your life is so much better. And I just don't want to let little fears and stuff like that stop me from doing the things I should do and the things I want to do, while I can. One thing, I actually am seeing a wellness doctor now instead of just my primary. So we're going to work on losing pounds, getting healthier, all of that good stuff. So that's one thing. And also cleaning, getting rid of stuff so your family doesn't have to deal with getting rid of your junk. So I've been organizing and getting rid of stuff. So those kinds of things.
My name is Abigail Seymour, and I am an entrepreneur, a lawyer, and an Enneagram 7. Acceptance. I've watched women gracefully change and expand or contract or become soft and love themselves through that. And I think that's helped me accept and love that too. I particularly love watching actresses. This is an odd thing to say because so many actresses do a lot to their faces, but there are a few that you watch them and they haven't done anything, and I've been watching them in films or TVs for 20 years, and I'm like, I love that they are aging so beautifully and letting us all in on it and not pretending that that's not happening. My sister passed away 10 years ago and was 56 when she died. And I'm now older than she was when she died. And so I embrace that gift that I'm still here. So rather than feel like, oh, I want to try and look younger, I'm like, I'm still here and I'm grateful for that. And so accepting aging and the wisdom that it brings is a gift that I don't get to watch from my one sister, but I do get to see it from my other sister, who's actually 18 years older than I am. And she's aging beautifully and gracefully and loves every minute of it.
My name is Judy Fowler. I am an educator, a mom, and a team player. This one was a very important question for me to read recently because I feel like this is something that's very timely. Both my wife and I are helping parents who are aging and figuring out who we are in this and our new roles with this. It's really interesting, especially having younger children, because we want to talk about this and be very open, and not to say that, hey, one day you're going to take care of us, but yet in one day you will have the same responsibility that we're both experiencing. My parents are older, but they're in a little bit better health, fortunately, but we've had to deal with hospitals and all these different things. I think it's the weird feeling of there's a part of me, even though I'm my age, I still look at my parents as if I remember what it was like when I was looking as an 18-year-old, or I have these visions of a 25-year-old, or even 10 years ago. And to see them, I still kind of see who I feel like I've always seen until some things happen. My mom had a fall recently, and just something where she just, from the story, she fell. There was nothing, not like a big gust of wind came by or anything, but she just fell. But to see the scrape and the bruising on her face really was something that was kind of like, it tainted my view of her from what I've always had. So it was a really interesting space that I'm currently in with that. I don't know exactly how to feel about it, other than cognitively I understand this is the aging process, but emotionally I'm not ready for it. It's interesting with my family, and especially with the Korean culture, we don't talk about a lot of things in general, you know. So when we try to have these conversations, it's always been pulling, like, can we please get some more information? I remember when my wife and I, we first put together all the will, all that stuff, and we were really excited about getting that done. And I remember asking my dad, "Hey, we did this, and you know, I know you have yours. Where is it? Oh, I have it. I know you have it, but where is it? Still don't know. I have a feeling I know where it is." So it's also holding on to these conversations. I've kind of tucked that in the back of my mind, knowing that you're gonna have to remember this, and you're gonna have to remember to start digging sooner. But it's a hard space too, because I want to respect where they are with things in their process. You know, I remember one time they actually moved from Columbus, Ohio, down here about 11 years ago. And we were in the process of moving from outside of Greensboro into where we live now. And we were kidding, but not kidding, and saying, hey, let's just get a bigger house. Let's just all be together. We have kids, you know, they were totally surprised about the fact that we were planning on having children. And I was like, you'd be with the kids all the time. But, you know, my mom said something that held with me too, is we don't want, in her words, we don't want to give up our independence either. So I have to respect that, and remembering when I was that child who wanted the independence and how they had to let me, even though they probably did not want to let me be as independent as I wanted. It's this role reversal thing that's really, it kind of messes with your mind in some ways. But that's where I'm trying to be very respectful and try to figure out where is that new meeting place? Where are we meeting in the middle? And I have no answer for that yet because it's always evolving. Every day is different.
My name is Terry Wiggins, and I am a woman. I am a mother, and I am a daughter. As I was younger, I really perceived elders, particularly my grandparents, as very loving, active, passionate about what they did in life, adventurous. And then kind of in middle age, diseases and illnesses popped up closer to my face. And particularly my parents. And it was something that was harder to witness. My dad actually died in 2005, and I was there to witness his death. And he really had the most beautiful death that one could ever have. He was ready for it. He was not afraid. He said, take care of your mom for us. And so that was beautiful. I was right there. And as I witnessed my mother after his death, it was very, very difficult. She spiraled downward into depression. She felt lost, disconnected. She really disengaged with a lot of the things that she had been a part of. She'd been in a bridge club for over 40 years. She used to go to church. She went very rarely. She was a person who helped kids learn how to read. She stopped that. And then she stopped reading herself. She was an avid reader. So all that to say, I witnessed this. And then the last year and a half of her life, I actually got to live with her. So I supported her by making sure her medications were in order, and I drove her places, and we really had a lovely reconnection. And we supported each other, really. So that was something. She was afraid of dying, and I was there for her, and I continued to support her on thinking it's not so bad. So she passed, and I think that illnesses and diseases in general can make people kind of go into worry, go into fear, and not be present in life, and lose kind of the joy and the passion of being here. So that's my close-up witnessing of aging.
My name is Susan Sassman, and I am an extrovert, a creative visionary, and a nurturing kind of gal. The big lesson I've learned about watching my friends and family grow older is that we need to stop doing organ recitals every time we get together with our people. An organ recital being, let me tell you how my organs are falling apart, let me start at the top and go all the way down. And that seems to take up a whole lot of energy and conversation amongst people. And once you get on that roll, it doesn't really stop. And so I've really made it a point to stop the organ recitals or to keep them limited, to give myself 2 to 3 minutes to give an overview when people say, how are you doing? And then move on to something more, enjoyable. And so I call it the organ recital to everyone I know, and if they go on a little bit too long, I will make that comment that, oh, it's organ recital time. And they get it, and they change the direction. Because I think the more you talk about what's wrong with you, the sicker you're going to get. The more you focus on your bad back or your headache or whatever it is that's bothering you, it's not going to really make you feel better. Commiserating with other people that have the same problem, there's a benefit to that. But I would say go and have a cup of tea with that person and don't drag us all through your organ recital. So that's the best one I've learned. Other things are learn how to value yourself a little more. As a woman, we spend way too much of our time taking care of everybody. We are the glue in the family and in the society, and we very, very often put ourselves last. And now that I'm 70, I'm realizing that taking care of me first is really the way to do it so that I can be more helpful to the people around me. And it was a very long road to learn that my needs should be a priority to me. So I'm happy to say I've got that one now. Here's one too. I don't want to stay at the party too long, meaning when I want to exit the planet, I'm going to exit the planet. I'm very big on right to die whenever you choose, and I'm not fond of just watching myself get sicker and sicker in a nursing home hanging over a wheelchair. I think you should never stay too long at the party. So when you're having more distress than you are having fun, and that goes on for a period of time, I think it's time to think about how you might want to exit. And I belong to lots of different groups that talk about death and dying and the rights of people. And so I feel like I'm pretty informed on that. And I'd like to see a planet where we can have that privilege, the same privilege that we give to our pets, that we could give to each other and let each other go in a gentle, loving fashion without making it illegal to leave the planet.
My name is Ann Sparks-Baumgardner, and I am a caregiver. I'm a member of a women's organization that I'm very passionate about. I am a cyclist. I'm a road cyclist, and I love being out of doors. Well, I watched my mother as she aged, and she was great in her, even at 100, she was still wonderful. It was when she was 102 that the dementia started to kick in. But again, it's taking care of yourself, trying to stay active, keep the body moving. I mean, if you don't and that's why right now I'm trying to go to 3 yoga classes a week, because I'm finding that it's really helping, just even if it's not real. I'm not doing pretzels. I'm just doing easy stuff, but that keeps me moving, keeps me stimulated. And although today I was in Shavasana, and I was still thinking about this letter that I'm going to write to a dentist because I'm angry at him about doing something to my sister that was not correct. And so I'm not being in the moment, and I want to be in the moment. So I sometimes pop out of that, but then I say, okay, bring yourself back. But so I guess I have another older sister who lives in British Columbia, and she has all kinds of ailments. And so seeing a lot of my friends and just knowing, Annie, you have got to eat right. You've got to exercise. You need to stay healthy, because I'm really worried about what's going to happen down the road.
My name is Marie Leonard, and I am a mom, a daughter, and an energetic lover of life. You can't avoid it. It's sort of like a train that's just it's going. And so with seeing my mom and my grandma and others, sometimes it's very fun and they have a carefreeness, and then other times it's hard because something is diminished or there's health challenges. But what I've seen, like when I think about my mom in particular, who's had both very important health challenges, but I've seen just a blooming of like creativity, and she just doesn't care about a lot of things. I have to keep it PG, but she doesn't have a lot of crap to give about a lot of extra nonsense, but she will just throw herself into her creativity. And so she's like making these books and these journals, and we might like them or not like them. She enjoys if we like them, but at the end of the day, she's going to make them regardless. And so I see that. When I think about my grandma, she just really cared about us. So she's like the hen who always wants her chickens in the house. So yeah, I think I see those two people playing that out, but also dealing with some really big health stuff too. So aging, I think, is just a bit of surrender to like the reality of whatever comes your way, and you can't 100% control it. And that is also hard, because a lot of our lives we try to like get things in order and like make it happen, but then a doctor's visit and everything is now in a new direction. So that can be hard.
So let's bring it back to the question. What lessons have you learned from watching loved ones get older?
How difficult was that question for you to answer? And be honest.
After you answer this question for yourself, think about reaching out to other women in your life for their answers.
Remember to share your answers with us in our 10 Women series on Instagram. We can't wait to read your answers. And speaking of answers, we've actually got some different answers on our Instagram page. That's because we asked all the women surprise questions to learn more about them. Join us on Instagram at 10 Women series to hear their answers.
We hope you will join us every Tuesday for a new episode wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. This series is distributed both as an audio-only and a YouTube video format to allow you to enjoy each episode your preferred way. Be sure to visit our website at www.sassyyam.com to learn more about this series and all the places you can find us. 10 Women is a production of Sassy Yam Media. Amy Brown and Sarah Howard, producers. Feel free to send us an email at sassyyammedia@gmail.com. Special thanks to the women of Season 1, Kimberly Burke, Judy Fowler, Michelle Horvath, Marie Leonard, Leanna Martin, Abigail Dunn Moses, Susan Sassman, Abigail Seymour, Ann Sparks Bumgaudner, and Terry Wiggins.